Hello. So this is just a very quick video I wanted to put together here just purely for fun. And also because I've been meaning to, ever since I got this guitar, do a proper sort of, I guess, demo of it. This is my 2019 Gibson Les Paul Junior Tribute, is what they call it. That must mean it's the greatest and best guitar in the world, right? Well, a tribute to one. And yeah, so the reason I'm doing this video is because loads of people always say when they look at this guitar, and friends of mine have picked up this guitar and played it as well, and they say, man, this guitar plays so nice, but I could not handle having a guitar that just has one pickup. And now I've spent quite a bit of time with this guitar. I just wanted to do a quick video just to show that this guitar has lots of different sounds and tones that you can get out of it despite not having a pickup selector switch. A P90 pickups are very dynamic pickups. Like, they react really well to what you do with the volume and tone pots. Sorry, just going to turn the camera a little bit. There we go. Yes, they react beautifully, actually, to dialing back the volume and the tone and stuff, because they have quite a lot of presence to them, much more so than a humbucker, but they are obviously thicker than a single coil. So when you roll the volume back, you don't lose loads of treble. Whereas, because I find on a lot of humbucker guitars, you roll the volume back just to 8. You go any further than that, in my opinion at least, it loses so much top end that it starts to become unusable. And then with a single coil, similar thing. You roll it back, you can the treble you have is still very much makes it usable and not too muddy, but it thins out the sound so much that it becomes virtually unusable. So I find that on most guitars I can dial the volume on the guitar back to 6 maybe, but anything past, on a lot of guitars, anything past 8, it starts to potentially become unusable depending on what sort of sound I've got. Whereas with this guitar, excuse me, I actually start with the volume on 6, and I can go down further than that and it doesn't lose too much top end. And the tone pot on this guitar sounds good all the way down to 0 nearly, because it's got the single coil brightness. The other thing it does that's very single coil is this. This guitar is like, P90s are so noisy, man. Like, they're so much noisier than single coils. But yeah, it's that, it's such an obvious thing to say, it almost feels stupid, but it is tonally, it has characteristics of a single coil and a humbucker, which makes it so dynamic that I don't think this guitar actually really needs a second pickup. The other thing is this guitar has, maybe I can find a picture of one somewhere, but under this pick guard, this guitar has a very long, what's called a neck 10 on. It's what the it's like a long bit of wood that sticks out from here, and it's like a joint where they glue, that's used to glue this neck onto the body. Because there's no neck pickup here, the neck tenon goes in to about here. So you cannot put a neck pickup on this guitar if you wanted to. You can't route it out or anything like that. But and what's interesting is that the ones that they make of this guitar now, has got a short neck tenon. So it only comes to about here. So you can put a neck pickup in, but the reason why I wouldn't, I actually think that's a bad thing, is because this is one of those parts where you're gonna have to take my word for it. But this guitar is very loud acoustically, as electric guitars go, and I think and the body, when you go like that, it really rings, it really resonates. Despite being obviously made of 2 or 3 bits of wood, you can just about see in the light there the colour shifts where the joins are. I think it's a 3-piece body, so it's like 1 bit here, 1 bit there, 1 bit there. But despite that, it's immensely resonant, and I think a lot of that is because the neck join is so chunky. And as I say, that makes the actual tone of it going into the amplifier really good. So yes, this is the sort of tone that I would start with on this guitar. And I've got the volume on 6 and the tone on about 8. I can go from there and put the tone up to 10. This is where it was before. That was with it all the way up and then back. You can hear the tone coming back. It sort of perceivably takes a little bit of gain away and it warms. I find that with the the volume rolled back to about 6, and I suppose maybe the tone on about 10. The Les Paul Junior is like the Gibson version of a Telecaster. That twang. If I take the volume back to about 3, that's actually, that's on 3, maybe less. With the tone on 10, that's still very usable. If I had my Les Paul Studio Pro, which is just here, but it's probably hidden in the shadows. I'll hold it. Actually, why not? Oh, sorry, Taylor. This guitar, if I had the volume on the bridge pickup on that, with the volume on 2, it would be unusably dark. If I go down a little further, and play a little softer. That's still an extremely usable, bright, sparkly sounding clean. This is my Friedman Runt, by the way. Runt 20 combo. Now obviously, if I put the volume up to 10, tone is still on 10 as well. It sounds like a Telecaster and a Les Paul had a wonderful night together, and this accidentally happened, and the Les Paul had to get a job to support it, and now if I bring the tone back down to about 6, it just takes away some of that twang, and it sounds, I've now got it on about 4. Just sort of it's like it just allows the beefiness to take center stage, and it takes away some of that, so on 10. Try and play the same thing with the tone back to about 4. the same thing. But my point stands, that basically it takes away some of the twang and the brightness, and it makes it sound more like maybe a traditional humbucker or a traditional Les Paul. All the way up. Like, I mean, obviously this guitar sounds amazing and fun with everything wide open, but there isn't really anywhere that you can put these controls where it doesn't continue to be usable. And that's true of a lot of Les Paul Juniors, or the good ones anyway, and that's why I wanted one so bad, because there isn't any other guitar that does this sort of thing, you know what I mean? And in fact, I'm going to probably make the title of this video why everybody should have a Les Paul Junior, because yeah, I think it's awesome. I think I'm going to start using this guitar more with my band actually. And now, obviously you think to yourself, well, that's great and everything, but that's all bridge pickup tones. What do you do if you do need to get a neck pickup tone? Well, don't get me wrong, you are not going to fool anybody that that is a neck pickup. But that's with the tone on, so obviously everything, volume on 10, tone on 1.5. And while that is it's not going to convince anyone that that's a neck pickup, I still think that sounds really awesome. Now, one thing I haven't done though yet is I haven't used any pedals, and I haven't even changed the channel on my amp. So I haven't done any clean channel stuff, and obviously this guitar does sound very good clean. And I haven't used any pedals. One thing that I like to do with this sort of like faux neck pickup tone is whack some sort of tube screamer on top, because it adds in some of the frequencies that you lose by taking the tone down. So you lose treble. This it puts in some mid-range and it puts in some treble. So without it, then with it. Maybe I could now put the tone on 0. Maybe put it on like 1. So you get a little bit of pick coming through. By the way, that was a Tube Screamer Mini, and all this buzzing that you're hearing is just because I'm sat quite close to the amp. It's nowhere near this bad, like, you know, normally. However, of course, like, you know, they are very sensitive to noise, P90s. In fact, my computer is just here. If I go closer to it. And therein lies why during this sort of lockdown Zoom lesson, guitar lesson period, I have not used this guitar on Zoom at all, because if I sit in front of my computer, it's just... and demonetized. But yeah, not that I monetize my videos anyway. More, it will now be monetized by somebody else, who I will not mention. But yes, very quickly, some clean tones. The same things pretty much apply in terms of the controls for clean stuff as well. So that was volume on 10 and everything wide open, basically. Although because there's a bit less compression going on, like rolling back on 6, it still sounds very good. At least. But it's a lot quieter than this. So I find the volume back to about 7 or 8 is, it just takes a bit of the thickness away, and then obviously you can put the tone back to about 5. You put the volume up to 10 and you have the tone on about 5. That sounds more like a humbucker clean to me. So that concludes my little video here on why everybody should own a Les Paul Junior and why they're awesome and why one pickup does not equal one sound. Hope you enjoyed it. And normally I would say do the classic YouTube thing of saying like and subscribe, but frankly, do whatever you want. I don't care. See you around, guys.